All right, welcome back to another episode of Two Plain Sports. It is the Brandon Jose show for the near future here. Brumbaugh is taking a little bit of a sabbatical. Um, you know, he's having he's going through some personal stuff, but in a good way. He doesn't want us to get too into detail, but he'll be back soon enough. So today, hopefully you guys all enjoyed your Easter. We're gonna get back to it, talk about Oklahoma football. A lot of stuff has happened since the last time we recorded. But before we get into everything, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you tell us what you think about what we talk about. If you hate it, if you love it, give us feedback. Tell us what you want to hear about because we appreciate all of it and it helps us brainstorm some ideas on what content to put out there for all of you to watch and hopefully enjoy. So let's get into it. Biggest news, I think, coming up here is Malik Hawkins, 2025. I believe he's a four-star DB and younger brother of Mike Hawkins, current freshman quarterback at OU. He is finally decided on a date for his commitment. We are in early April, so he's decided a date. April 10th is when he's making that announcement. I think a little note here is he was supposed to be there last weekend, as we talked about in our last episode, and Kevin Sperry threw out his little teaser tweet of someone being silently committed to Oklahoma. Could be him. Brandon, any quick thoughts here before we move on? I know it's not a big topic, but something definitely noteworthy.
Yeah, no, for sure. We talked about him a lot. I mean, I think on April 10th, if he does not commit to Oklahoma, I'll be shocked. I think everything points to Oklahoma. His brother plays there. His dad is an alum. I think it's going to be Oklahoma. It's exciting though.
And it's Jay Valai. I think if any coach on this roster isn't gonna fumble the bag, it's gonna be him when it comes to recruiting and legacy like Hawkins here. Next up today or Monday on April 1st, Trent Wilson, friend of the show, releases his top four and includes Oklahoma, which is why we're talking about him, A&M, Ohio State, and Penn State. School proximity wise, Penn State's probably going to have that advantage, but when he came on the show here to talk to us, he mentioned how he reached out to Oklahoma. He showed interest in OU before OU was able to circle around to him, and I think that speaks volumes not only to what Todd Bates and Miguel Chavis are doing, and Venables on improving that defensive line and showing kids what they can do to put them in a good position to be in the NFL, but it also shows his character. He's humble. He's not afraid to be the one to reach out and show interest, and especially in a top university. Sometimes you'd think kids that are as talented as him or as sought after as him would say, you know what, I've got a lot of offers. I'm just gonna hold out and see if they offer me. If not, I'm gonna move on and continue with who does show interest. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I think this one's a lot. It's a really fun one to watch. It's obviously exciting to make the Final Four there for him. He's really super talented, man. 6'3", 270. Can kind of do it all on the football field. When we talked to him, I got a lot of Danny Okoye vibes from him. They had that same kind of just confidence in themselves and in their abilities and stuff like that. But he's special, man. If you just go back and watch the interview that we did with him, still on our channel. I think Penn State has the hometown advantage. It's not the same state, but it's close. He even mentioned that as part of his thing. But he's really, really close with, at least when he talked to us, with Coach Todd Bates. And we obviously know how good Coach Todd Bates is at getting kids of this talent and stuff to commit to Oklahoma. It's going to be a fun one to follow. He would be the huge addition to the team. I'm really hoping this one goes our way.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it. The confidence he has in himself is what makes you believe like this kid's gonna be special at the next level, at least collegiately. He's already built like a grown man. I mean, the dude looks like he could be in his early to mid 20s, and not in a bad way. Like just his body's already looks like it's filled out enough where he could be impactful as a true freshman because he won't need to be hitting the weights as hard as some other guys coming in his recruiting class wherever he goes.
Yeah, and another thing I like about him a lot is so when he's making these decisions, I think winning is something, it matters to all recruits, but I think this is something he's really going to look at is somewhere where he feels he can win. I think Oklahoma's a good spot for that. But, he's 3 for 3 in state titles in high school football going into his senior season. So if they can cap it off this year as a senior, he'll win 4 state titles in 4 years in high school, which is, I think that's perfect if my math is right. I was never very good at math, but I do think 4 for 4 is perfect.
No,
So that the dude knows how to win, or he knows what winning looks like. So he knows how to prepare, how to do. I mean, he's a winner. You want kids like this on your team.
that's a good point. That makes it that much bigger of a football season here. That don't I think when we talked to him, he said he wasn't in that big of a rush to make a decision. It could come in the summer, but it could be all the way up until December. And with a with a talented defensive lineman, this stuff goes all the way to the end, regardless of if he makes a verbal commitment in the summertime. So it makes this upcoming season for Oklahoma big, and A&M and Penn State. I mean, really, out of those four schools, Ohio State's the one that's shown the most success recently. And it sucks to say because obviously we love Oklahoma, but I think Oklahoma's right there at number 2 spot. Penn State wants a shot. They need to show that they can conquer those beasts in the Big Ten and Ohio State and Michigan. And we'll see how it works out for them. Anything you want to add there before we move on to the next guy?
Nah, just go check out the video if you haven't yet, because he's a sharp kid, man. He's fun.
For sure. Next guy, 5-star. People love to hear those words together and link to Oklahoma. 5-star offensive lineman Michael Fasusi releases top 7. Oklahoma made it. Again, why we're talking about him. It's between OU, Texas, Oregon, USC, A&M, Missouri, and Georgia. We talked about him last time. It does seem like Texas is where things are pointing to. But with the top 7, there's clearly still plenty of things he's looking for. Oklahoma's been recruiting him for quite some time now. Coach B, some people doubt him, but he, at the end of the day, puts guys in a position to make it to the NFL and be successful in the NFL and be successful at the collegiate level. So it's really, I think, fairly or not, I think this is really going to be about NIL and can Oklahoma compete with schools like really Oregon and Missouri, A&M. Not that OU doesn't have the money to shell out here, but they've been really good at making sure that it doesn't become the topic during a recruitment of any player. We've seen it now for the last 3 recruiting cycles, basically since this coaching staff and NIL became a thing. It came at the same time. Oregon's got all the money in the world to spend, Nike money. Mizzou, we've seen it. They will break the bank for someone that they think is extremely talented and can help. And A&M, again, a school that has a history of making big NIL plays. Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting. I mean, like you said, he's got a top 7, so this process is far from over. It's obviously cool to be considered in this final 7 here. He kind of has it narrowed down a little bit, but this is going to drag on for a while. Player of his talent, his services. I mean, it's like 6'4", almost 300 pounds, but he's super athletic. He's also a track guy. This is going to be a fight to the end. And your NIL point, it's fair. I think that a lot of times that unfortunately is what it's coming down to, because Oklahoma's not going to. I don't think that we're going to top an A&M or Missouri offer or things like that. They seem to really shell it out hard. I know we matched Missouri for Caden Green, still didn't work out, but it is what it is. The NIL is going to be big here, but Bill Bedenbaugh is, I mean, he's one of the best in the business at definitely developing talent. Say what you want about his recruiting, but I think look at the track records of the O lines here. We're if not the best, we're right up there with anybody here as far as developing offensive linemen. I think this is a good spot for him to get to the next level. Bill Bedenbaugh puts a ton of dudes in the league. There's a lot that Oklahoma has to offer on the football field. Hopefully that's what wins out in the end, because this kid would be really good.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think there's very many schools that are for sure better than Oklahoma at producing NFL level offensive linemen. Maybe Notre Dame, Iowa, Michigan are the 3 that off the top of my head that I think you can put it right up there with Oklahoma and say that they're better at it. But Oklahoma's not, you know, there's
Yeah.
no slouch when it comes to offensive linemen and making sure they get in a spot to be a pro.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, then moving on to the next guy. Oklahoma offered, and OK Preps, kind of, but almost Arkansas,
Yeah.
uh, wide receiver slash tight end,
Slash
Dakota
DN.
to slash DN Dakota Terrell out of Pocola, Oklahoma. As I said, 6'9". Dude is a big human being. And
Right.
Brandon and I were talking about it. I guess I'll let him make this point, but he's a freakish size for a football player. Also plays basketball, so wouldn't be surprised if gets recruited as a as a wide receiver, because Oklahoma is looking for big wide receivers, but never seen a guy this size be successful at in football at any level past high school, really, at least that I can think of. Brandon.
Yeah, no. So like that's what we were talking about before we started recording here. If this kid commits, he's 6'9". So we were talking about it before we started recording. I think that would be the tallest player in Oklahoma football history without doing any, research or looking at it. That is going to be the end of video challenge. So I'll spoil it a little bit. Is 6'9", if he were to commit, would he become the tallest player in the history of OU football? I think the answer is yes, without, again, doing any research looking into it. But I think just top of the head, I feel like that is he would take that record. But yeah, you mentioned it. He's also a basketball player. He's a 1,000-point scorer going into his senior season. He puts up huge numbers on the football field as well. Almost 600 touchdowns or 600 yards, 7 touchdowns last season. 8 tackles for loss on defense, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions. So he's really putting these numbers together at this size and doing crazy things. The knock on him is going to be the same thing that Danny Okoye faced. He's playing Class A Oklahoma football here, so I can't even. There's no way that anybody he's playing against is even close to him as far as his size goes. He's going to be head and shoulders above everybody on the field. So that, it is what it is. I still think at 6'9" there's a lot you can do with. And we were talking about it too. He's listed as a tight end receiver on, 24/7 rivals and things like that, but he does play D end. I don't know, if you're Oklahoma, where do you want to play this kid? There's a lot of things you can do here. I think the other knock on him that we talked about too is he's 6'9", 215 pounds. So he's, I imagine, a very tall, lanky body, kind of like Chet Holmgren looking out there
Yeah.
on the football field. So it'll be interesting really to see if he does commit to Oklahoma, what position. And I think regardless, unless he plays receiver, if he's trying to play tight end or D end, I feel like he's going to have to add to that 215 number.
And I believe he is also a kid like Jaden Nickens that wants to play basketball at the next level. So that would put a bit of a damper on being able to gain too much weight, because he has to be, agile enough to continue to play basketball, because I'm assuming on a body that big, adding 30 to 40 pounds and expecting him to move similarly, and adding that weight quickly is not going to be feasible. But we'll see. I mean, big body, I think that the most exciting part is the possibilities of what he can be as a football player. I think as a basketball player, the size alone is going to help him. So we'll see where Oklahoma ends up there. Hopefully, in a good spot to at least see what he can be playing for the good guys and not having to ever play against them, because that would be a tough body to cover if he's playing an offensive skill position.
100%. He's going to create some mismatches there in the red zone.
For sure. All right, and last guy to talk about, we're going to skip all the way to 2026, talking about a quarterback, 4-star QB, Darion Coleman out of Orlando, Florida. He will be taking a visit to Oklahoma on April 11th, I believe, April 11th and April 12th. He tweeted it out, also going with his quarterback coach. This is someone that already has a future cast from Rivals in favor of Oklahoma. I remember when he tweeted out his offer, he had something like Eddie Pierre-Louis. This was a school that he dreamed about getting an opportunity to hopefully play football for. It can come to fruition for him. He is a 4-star already. I think he's top 150 according to Rivals. It's one of the only platforms that has him ranked at the moment. Dude is, based on his ranking, the fact that he's driven to want to go to Oklahoma, I think that's what excites me the most. There's guys like that are excited about potentially being at Oklahoma and not just being Oklahoma, being that Oklahoma's a big brand. That's why it's entertaining, a place for them to entertain and look at when it comes to playing at the next level.
Yeah, no, I mean it's awesome that he likes us. I think what's also cool about this one is he's a sophomore, probably 16 years old, 15 or 16, but he has 18 college offers already in Oakland. So that shows how good the kid is already and is going to progress into being. He picked up his first offer in 2022 from Incarnate World. So so he has 18 offers, but where it helps Oklahoma is we're in before a lot of the big guys, if you will. He does hold A&M, Ole Miss offers, SMU, Nebraska if you want to count them, Illinois, Westview, and UCF. But we've beat the Georgias to the race. We beat Alabama, we beat Tennessee, we beat South Carolina, we beat Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. We beat a lot of the big powerhouses to at least offer them. And I do think sometimes that goes a long way with these kids. When they're this young and then they're seeing the offers already come in, he can think about Oklahoma beat these teams to the punch here, and I think that does help. But it's going to be a wild process. He's so young. I mean, we were talking about it. This kid has the opportunity to potentially commit to college to play, 4 years before he gets his driver's license. Like it's a crazy situation here. It would be awesome. Then we'd have 2025 and 2026 quarterbacks locked up already. But it's going to be a long process here.
Oh yeah. And I think two things that on the same note where you're talking about, he has an opportunity to see that Oklahoma is really interested in him because they've gotten in early. And on the same note, just other side of the coin, he can picture himself as the quarterback for the University of Oklahoma for a longer time since he has that offer. And I think that's why a lot of coaches offer early sometimes. And even though later on they might not recruit as hard, they want to get in early so these kids can start picturing themselves in that uniform, start taking visits, hopefully early on in that process. And then for Oklahoma, they're showing that, or they're seeing the value of having your quarterback locked in early to your class, because you saw it in the class of 2023. Jackson was the second commit of that class. And obviously it was due to some decommits in that class, but it was Joshua Bates that was the lone guy until come January when Brent Venables and this staff were officially in their positions. Jackson Arnold locked in his spot, and look how that class ended up going. You got him as a five-star defensive end in PJ Adebore and five-star safety, and his high school teammate Peyton Bowen. That worked out. 2024 was a little bit different. They were really prioritizing the defensive line, but I think that there's an argument to be made that if Mike Hawkins was in a little bit earlier, probably would have made their pursuit for some of those bigger prospects easier throughout the recruiting process. Because look at 2025. You got Kevin Sperry on board, and you were able to secure a lot of those in-state kids quickly. So getting Darion Coleman or any quarterback in your class early puts you not just one, but probably 2 or 3 steps ahead of the competition, because now you have your leader, the guy that's seen as a leader on the football field already in your recruiting class. He can go recruit and do the peer-to-peer recruiting we always talk about is vital in these processes for schools.
Yeah, 100%. The quarterback seems to take that role. Whether they want, I mean, it seems to be that's their first job before they even step foot on campus is to become that lead recruiter for a couple seasons. So yeah, it would be awesome, and I think he would thrive, and he'd hop in and keep it going.
For sure. That's everything we have for this episode. We're obviously going to have more as recruiting starts to heat up. It is the very beginning of what is going to be a very entertaining offseason for Oklahoma. Spring game is right around the corner. We will start talking about more spring practices in later episodes this month. But last thing I want to say, we just hit our 3-year mark of doing this show.
That's
going
true.
into year 4. I mean, we've come a long way. I know we say it at the beginning of every show. Brum says it at the beginning of every show, but we really appreciate all of you for watching. We've never thought that we'd have 6,000 people subscribe to this channel. Honestly, for a minute, we thought, screw it, we're just gonna do this for fun, and who cares if anything ever comes, we're at least getting to talk to each other about what we love, which is football and Oklahoma football. But now we get the opportunity to hopefully entertain some of you guys, or piss some of you guys off with some of the takes we have. But
A couple times too. Yeah.
yeah, but we really appreciate all you for watching and subscribing. And hopefully we can keep growing this thing.
Yes, sir.
Brandon, end of video.
Yeah, that end of video challenge, man. If Dakota Terrell again, top of my head, I think if he commits, he's the tallest player in the history of Oklahoma football. If anybody knows if that's not true, go ahead and name drop him too, because I'm curious to see if anybody is taller than 6'9". And then I guess the second part to that, let's put you in the coach's shoes here for a minute. You get a guy who's 6'9", 215, very athletic kid. Obviously, he plays basketball. He plays three different positions in football. Where do you place him? Is he a receiver? Is he a tight end? Or is he a D end?
Like it. Let us know what you think in the comment section. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.